Page 3 now, an Article 5 convention of the states. How close are we to one? Honestly, not very. 4 states have signed on for a convention of the states, but we need 30 more. That is, if, as radio host Mark Levin says, you would like your country back.
Day after day, day in and day out, we go through these ridiculous arguments. The liberal agenda is pushed through the news. We respond to the liberal agenda. We defend our guys and our gals against the liberal onslaught. We read editorials out of the Washington Compost and the New York Slimes, papers that are hostile to constitutionalism and despise each and every one of us. Instead, day in and day out, we wrestle with ourselves. Day in and day out, we debate the left's agenda. Day in and day out, the left's agenda is America's agenda. And I'm saying once and for all, we think for ourselves, we think outside the box, we take our republic back. And the framers of the Constitution and the ratifiers of the Constitution told us how to do it.
Enough said, don't you think? We need to drive the narrative in this country, not Nancy Pelosi. We, the people, were given this emergency ripcord by the framers of the Constitution. If they didn't want us to use it, why would George Mason and James Madison have fought so hard for it? Joining me now from Harrisonburg, Virginia, staff counsel for the Convention of the States Project, Rita Dunaway. Rita, in Virginia, what is the status of legislation that would support a Convention of the States?
Well, I'm very excited to be with you today and to announce that Delegate Scott Lingenfelter recently pre-filed the Convention of States application. It's House Joint Resolution 3. So it will be live and active on day 1 of Virginia's 2016 session, which starts January 13th. And I'm looking forward to coming back here in a couple months and telling you that Virginia hopefully will be state number 5 on the list.
Let's hope so. Now, of course, this is not a partisan issue. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an issue for Americans, whether you're independent or you're the Green Party. This is a matter of using what the framers of the Constitution put in the Constitution for us to use. But let's face it, there seems to be more Republican support for an Article 5 Convention of the States. And in your state, the House, there's an overwhelming majority in your House, but only a slight majority in the Senate?
That's exactly right. Our Senate right now is 21 Republicans to 19 Democrats, which of course means if we lose one Republican vote, we're at a tie, and we have a Democrat lieutenant governor who cast the tie-breaking vote. But, you know, I love the point you just made. The Constitution is for every American, and that's what we're really trying to do here, is to restore sanity by going back to the basics of our Constitution. And this is not liberal versus conservative or Democrat versus Republican. This is really about federal power versus state power. And what we're trying to do is bring power back to the states so that, for instance, in Virginia, decisions that govern our everyday lives will be made by Virginians, not by this elite ruling class in Washington, D.C.
This is a constitutional process, but because the ripcord has never been pulled in the past, it's also an educational process. Are the people of Virginia, as far as you know, engaged? And are you trying to get more and more Virginians engaged?
I'm so glad you asked, because, you know, over the past 4 or 5 months, our petition signatures in Virginia, the people of Virginia who are standing up, speaking up, and showing up to tell their state legislators that they want them to support this, that number has almost doubled just over the past 4 or 5 months. That is extraordinary growth. People are coming to understand that this is a constitutional process that the founding fathers gave us for such a time as this, and they're wanting their state legislators to do their job and use their power to check the federal government.
Okay, but there is stiff opposition, and the little recon I have from Virginia is a guy named Richard Black. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this person, but why is he holding things up? Why is he so opposed?
Well, the answer is pretty much the same for everyone who opposes this effort. The answer is that they're motivated out of fear. And, you know, it's really unfortunate because fear has no place as a motivating factor for an American patriot. It never has. American patriots are motivated by courage. But I want to speak to that quickly because Senator Black's fears based on uncertainty about how the process will work or what if Congress tries to take it over, we have found a way to address those fears. What we've done with our resolution language for 2016 is we've built in some additional provisions that specify what we already know from history about the process. For instance, Congress has no control over the convention. Congress doesn't get to select the delegates, and the convention must be limited to the stated topic in the application. We believe Senator Black's going to be on board with us for 2016.
The Congress is relegated to what I would call a secretarial role. I'll say another thing. When people talk about a runaway convention, they're out of their minds. Talking about, for example, stripping out the Second Amendment, it's not going to happen unless you have 38 states that agree with that. And if you can't have 13 red states to oppose it, then we might as well lose this country. So all of this is static. It's nonsense. We need to do this. We need to do it for the people. And of all the possible amendments to the Constitution, more and more, I think maybe the most important, maybe even more than a balanced budget, in my opinion, is term limits. Only have about 10 seconds left. Is that a big one on the horizon for you all?
I think term limits is important, maybe more so for federal judges even than for members of Congress. I know a lot of Americans support that idea, and it is something that could be considered at this convention.
And I would also like to see the repeal of the 17th and the 16th Amendment. Throw that one in there, too. Rita, thanks.